Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you may or may not have heard, there's a really good pickup at Zavala this week, which I have already taken advantage of, but I just wanted to go over what the drops are. Okay, so if you did not play last week enough, then you'll have to unlock this with Bright Dust, but Zavala does have Mint Retrograde this week. So I already picked up mine. Um, but yeah, there's 5 options available, and you just have to come in and figure out which one you want. So for me, I had a tier 4, and I've been using it like a lot. Like it's probably one of my top 3 weapons that I use. So I did want a tier 5, but I just had to come in here and figure out which combination I wanted to use. So I'm looking at the main perks, and for me, I had on my tier 4, I have Envious Arsenal combined with Bait and Switch. So those two work together very well. I've also heard a lot of good things about Rewind rounds. Um, and then Stats for All, maybe like in third place behind those. But in this column, Slice is okay because I don't really remember to use my class item or my class ability to trigger this, but severing targets is usually associated with Strand. So, Master of Arms, One for All. See, like One for All, you got to hit 3 separate targets. So I really don't do that or try to do that with this weapon. It's just too difficult. But if that's the way that you use this weapon, you compare that with Stats for All, hitting 3 separate targets increases weapon handling, stability, reload, range for improved duration. One for all, when you hit 3 separate targets, increases damage. Right. But like I said, that's just not how I play. But when I look at perks, I try to sync them or match them up the best I possibly can. But Envious Arsenal does the same thing. Well, not the same thing. It's dealing damage with both other weapons. So you have to use your energy weapon, your heavy weapon, and then you switch to Mint Retrograde, and then you'll have increased. Um, well, this is it refills your weapon from reserves, and it increases ammo regeneration. So it doesn't give you a damage boost with the weapon itself, but it helps you out with the ammo. It seems like the reloading part of it. So, but for me, I wasn't like looking back over my gameplay. I wasn't using the weapon that way. Like I wouldn't use my energy, my heavy, and then jump to my kinetic weapon, right? So I would just go back and forth between energy weapon, kinetic weapon, right? So I wasn't using NVS as much as I thought I would. But that's the first one. The second one, rewind rounds again, stats for all again, envious arsenal, slice. This time there's elemental honing and one for all. So this looks like about the same in terms of the perks, right? Except this one has elemental honing. It also has one for all. Yeah, so see stats for all, one for all, envious, rewind, slice. The only thing that's different is elemental honing, which I heard is good. Um, Dealing unique elemental damage grants this weapon a stacking damage bonus for an improved duration. This bonus is increased for kinetic weapons. But see, the thing about Mint is it's a strand So it's not a even though it's in the kinetic slot, it's not a true kinetic weapon. It does have an element tied to it. So I don't think the bonus damage. I don't think you'll get that bonus damage with this, but you will get the elemental damage bonus. So that's what it sounds like. In terms of pairing, I think rewind rounds. It says when the weapon's magazine is empty, it more effectively refills from reserves based on the number of hits. So this is not kills, but just a number of hits. So I think if you're fighting a very spongy boss, then that would help in terms of refilling the weapon. If you look at the reload speed, it's really bad on this one. That's because you have extended mag on there, so you would have to switch it to alloy magazine uh, to boost your reload speed. Because extended mag, I mean, it takes a lot of your it decreases your reload speed by quite a bit. Like it's crazy how much it does. So, but that's not what I picked. And then also keep in mind what the masterwork is. Down here is handling. On the first one, it was also handling. Okay. So now number three, we've got okay. So now they changed it up a little bit. Beacon rounds, recycled energy. Here's stats for all again. The masterwork is handling again. The second slot, we got chain reaction, master of arms, one for all. So it's kind of this one's switched it up a little bit, but I think the first pick had one for all and master of arms too. It just didn't have chain reaction. So chain reaction would be new. Beacon rounds is new. Recycled energy is new. Um, alloy mag, flared magwell. You get a lot of reload speed from that. That's crazy. Confine launch, smart drift. Okay, so the other thing too, with your the barrel, like, do you want to lean towards blast radius? Like, do you want to max out your blast radius, or do you want the velocity to be really high, right? Because this weapon fires. I think it's a 3 round burst. I believe it's a 3 round burst. So that's just your preference of what you want to use. But that's number three. Okay, so number four, we've got recycled energy again, stats for all again, but this time we've got envious arsenal. Okay. Okay, so now we've got bait and switch, slice, okay, and elemental honing. So this is interesting because let's see. Bait and switch is what I'm going for because that's what my tier 4 already has. And I'm thinking like if I get a mint, it's got to have bait and switch as one of the options in this column. And then the other option, probably elemental honing. So if I can get both of those on the same weapon, that would be great, you know? But then what do you want to pair it with? So in this column, I would go envious arsenal, but I would also go rewind rounds, but we don't have rewind rounds here. Um, so yeah, this bait and switch is good. Elemental honing is good. Slices would be good if you're trying to. I think especially if you're running it with a strand build. As far as recycled energy, eh, Reloading after defeating targets grants an increased amount of energy to your lowest charge ability. Uh, I guess if you want to lean into your powered melee or your grenade, but yeah, I think the recharge rate. I lean a lot into grenades, so my recharge rate is fine. So I really wouldn't use recycled energy too much. Um, Again, I don't try to hit three separate targets with this weapon, so I don't use stats for all. I would definitely go envious and pair envious with elemental honing or envious with bait and switch. Now, as far as the magazine, the velocity can go up, but it's got flared magwell, high velocity rounds. And then for the barrel, you got volatile launch and confined launch. So your blast radius comes down a little bit, but your stability and the handling goes up. And then for the masterwork, it's got handle. I think all four of these have handling as the masterwork. Wow. Okay. Which is not bad because the handling on this weapon looks bad. Right now, like it's 16 out of 100. So the highest you can switch to confine launch to get the handling to jump up to 21, but on this particular option, that's the best you can get without the masterwork. Okay, so that's number 4. The last one, number 5, we've got there's rewind rounds, there's recycled energy, there's stats for all. See, they messed me up on this one because on the fourth option, they had envious arsenal, but they didn't have rewind rounds. On this one, they have rewind, but there is no envious. Okay. This column has bait and switch, chain reaction, elemental honing. So basically, they give you have one option where you get bait and switch elemental honing paired with envious arsenal, or you can use this option number 5. You got bait and switch elemental honing paired with rewind rounds. So it just depends on how you want to play that, right? In terms of synergy, I think bait and switch synergizes probably better with envious. Um, but rewind, when this weapons magazine is empty, it more effectively refills the reserves based on the number of hits. So if you're going bait and switch and you're especially in a damage phase, I would think that rewind would be better paired with bait and switch. Elemental honing, you get the stacking damage bonus. Yeah, so I think even with chain reaction, is nice. I don't know if it's completely necessary for this weapon, but it's there. So I would still go bait and switch, elemental honing, pair with rewind rounds. And then for the magazine, you got alloy and you've got implosion. Now, implosion, look at your stability and your velocity goes way up. But you do lose the blast radius, which if you're in a boss phase, I don't think the blast radius decreasing is going to hurt you because the blast radius is the explosion radius of the weapon. So I don't know if that means that the damage decreases or just the area that is affected decreases. You know what I mean? So you got alloy, implosion, and then for the barrel, you've got volatile launch, and you've got linear compensator. Yeah, so if you switch to implosion and then you switch to linear, your velocity stability is going to be up pretty high if you combine those two together. As far as this column, I wouldn't use stats for all for how I play. I wouldn't use recycled energy. The only thing that really jumps out at me with this one is rewind. Um, but yeah, that's number 5. And you can only pick one, okay? So for me, I'm looking at bait and switch, elemental honing. Do you want to combine that with envious? So envious dealing damage with both other weapons before readying this weapon refills it from reserve, right? So bait and switch, you deal damage with all equipped weapons within a short time to give this weapon a damage boost for improved duration. So again, these two go together very well because you have to switch between all your weapons, right? So envious, you got to use your energy, your heavy. With bait and switch, you have to use your energy, your heavy, and then you switch back to kinetic, and that gives you the damage boost. Elemental honing. With elemental honing, you don't have to switch because all you need to you don't have to switch your weapons, right? All you have to do is make sure that well, you're going to get elemental damage because this is a strand weapon. So elemental, okay. So I would pair envious arsenal with bait and switch, and then I would pair elemental honing with rewind rounds. So it just depends on what you want to do. Yeah, I would definitely pair elemental honing with rewind rounds. Yeah, you get dealing unique elemental damage grants this weapon a stacking damage bonus for improved duration. Yep, it's nice. But see, this is the thing with rewind. When the weapons magazine is empty, it more effectively refills from reserves based on the number of hits. So once you use it that first time, like you go through your 5 in a magazine, once rewind rounds kicks in, you're gonna get more in the magazine, I believe, which is gonna help you get more damage out of the weapon with elemental honing because you're gonna have more shots available to fire. And then this one, like I said, it also like all 5 of them have handling for the masterwork, which is weird. So for me, I'm gonna pick one with bait and switch for sure, which technically I already did. I already did. So this was my tier 4 that I have. How many kills do I have with this thing? 626 kills with this weapon. And granted, I equip this weapon all the time. or a lot. I would say majority of the time. But it's basically a heavy hitter, right? So I switch to it when when I'm like in situations where I get charged by a yellow bar enemy. I switch to Mint Retrograde and it just wipes them out. Okay, so I've got Envious Arsenal combined with Bait and Switch, and Beacon rounds I never did use. It says final blows with this weapon grant your projectiles tracking and increase reload speed for an improved duration. Dealing further damage extends the duration. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I would need to use tracking because it's very just straightforward with this weapon. And then there's one for all. Hitting three separate targets increases damage for an improved duration. I don't know how, because I think this, even though this is a three burst, it's very straightforward. Like, it's not like a spread, shotgun that you're firing. So I'm not sure how that would go. And then I've got high velocity, um, implosion. The stability would go way up. Counter mass, and then quick launch. So that's my tier four, and it has handling on it as well. And then I mean, you can switch to kill shot, stay in the fight, over pressure, just depending on what you're doing. Um, yeah, just depending on what you're doing. So I ended up getting the tier five version from Zavala, and it does have bait and switch. It's got elemental honing, so I got both of those. I just wanted um, rewind rounds combined with envious arsenal, but they didn't have that one. Because if they did have that one, then I would get rid of my tier four. But I think I'm gonna keep my tier four, just in case I feel like I need envious combined with bait and switch still. I'm not sure yet. I haven't actually taken this out in the field. Now with this particular one, look at my blast radius all the way up at 93, right? It also has handling. I don't know why handling is the only masterwork for this, but again, if you look at the handling over here, it's terrible. Um, the speed at which the speed with which the weapon can be readied and aimed, which is actually a big deal. So yeah, the weapon is a little sluggish. Well, it's sluggish, but it hits so hard that it doesn't bother me at all. But there's implosion rounds, the velocity, the stability would go way up. Um, and then there's linear compensator. So if I switch to linear and I switch to implosion, then the velocity goes way up, stability goes way up. If you're trying to play at a distance and shoot across the map, then I would say your stability needs to go up like this. But if you're in close quarters to mid range, I would definitely try to put as much as you can in the blast radius. But you can mix the two. Um, you can mix the two, right? Because you get 10 points or you lose 10 points, and then you lose another 10 points with the blast radius there. So yeah, up here is 10 points for blast radius, another 10 points for blast radius with this. So you can either go 73, 83, or 93 for blast radius, depending on, you know. But for me, I want to see how this feels with the blast radius up so high. Because my tier four, I think the blast radius was 76. So I want to see if the when the blast radius goes up, does that mean my damage go up? You know what I mean? Um, I want to check that out. But anyway, that's the one that I went with, and like I said, I'm gonna keep the tier four because now I don't have bait and switch paired with envious. Um, but these, like I said, these go together very well. You have to switch between all three weapons to proc both of them. So you might as well proc two traits instead of just one, you know? Yeah, but you guys can tell me what your picks are in the comments. For me, now that I'm looking back at my gameplay, like I said, I rarely switch between all three weapons. You know, so I wasn't using bait and switch in Envious Arsenal that much. I was just jumping back and forth between Graviton and Mint Retrograde. And then if my Mint was low on ammo, then I would jump on Hammerhead and use that. But I wouldn't like switch between Hammerhead, Graviton, then go to Mint and start doing that number. I just That's just not how I play. So now that I have the tier five, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna go elemental honing and I'm gonna pair that with rewind rounds because if you're fighting a tanky enemy or a spongy enemy, you want a lot of shots in the magazine because right now I've only got five. You can improve that with there's backup mag, but that means my recoil goes to 60, and I don't want my recoil to veer off to the right that much. I want that recoil to be as straight up and down as possible, as vertical as possible. So I went with the counterbalance, enhanced counterbalance mod. So at 95, it's practically straight up and down the middle with the recoil. So that'll just help me to land my shots better. But yeah, that blast radius being up that high, this weapon has a lot of kick to it. So so there's that. All right. But like I said, leave your thoughts in the comments with what perk combination you've gone with, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.